Live from New York. It's the show that, for some reason, is reliving the 2013 wild card game between the Chiefs
in depth
and the Colts in depth. Jeff, you guys were up 38-10.
Yes, it started because we talked about it. Wearing all white is not good for fat people.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it started, okay?
That is how it started.
Yes.
That is how it started.
We lost. We were 38 down 38. We were up 38-10 and lost. It was a bad loss. But since then, the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls, so good for them.
They've won 3 Super Bowls.
Yes.
Yeah. Andrew Luck happened.
He did happen. T.Y. Hilton happened. Injuries happened. Bad luck happened. All things that happen, Coach, when you lose a 28-point lead in the third quarter.
probably wasn't just the jerseys.
No.
It might not have been the all-white jerseys. That's Geoff Schwartz, Eric Mangini. I'm Danny Parkins. Let's get to today's show. We begin with the Baltimore Ravens. It was a disappointing 2025, to say the least. John Harbaugh was fired. Baltimore's expectations, though, as high as ever under new head coach Jesse Minter, finding themselves tied with the best Super Bowl odds among AFC teams with the Bills. Ravens beat writer Jameson Hensley outlined how Minter has motivated Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to be the best, with a quote from tackle Ronnie Stanley, says, quote, "He just brings a positive mentality and an optimistic outlook on every individual in the building. He just pumps belief into the players." So there's always talk of a new coach bump. So we will start with you, Coach. Do you expect Jesse Minter to be an upgrade over John Harbaugh?
So when we used to meet with the players, we'd talk about media traps and things you should avoid, and comparisons is one of them, because you're always going to make someone angry with a comparison. and here's what I'm having a difficult time working through, is John was there 18 seasons, and he had 3 losing seasons in his 18 seasons, and 2 of those were 9-8, and he won a Super Bowl. And I worked with Jim, and I've known John for a long time. And I don't think you can accuse either one of them of being anything but extremely positive. So that's always been who they are. So that to say that he didn't bring that to the building, I find that extremely hard to believe. I think this may be a function of, just like anything, if you're playing at the same bar for 18 years, probably people get a little tired of listening to what you're singing, and this is a new message. So I don't necessarily think it's a better message. It's just different, and that's probably what they're responding to. But I'd just be careful about, trying to label John Harbaugh as not being positive and this being a huge upgrade over someone who had 3 losing seasons in 18 years. Pretty hard to do.
Pretty good record.
Very clearly, the energy is younger, right? He's a younger coach. And clearly, there was something at the end of last season that was off. Remember, the end of the season was like Lamar versus Harbaugh. Who are they going to choose, Lamar or Harbaugh? And they chose Lamar. So I would imagine they're hoping that what happens here is what happened in Seattle. You hire a young defensive coordinator, a hot shot, and in 2 years, you win a Super Bowl. Now, he's starting off with Lamar Jackson. Mike got to start with Geno Smith. So there's obviously a head start here. What he has got to do, Minter has got to do, number one, is obviously get them to the playoffs, but they have got to play better in the playoffs. They've got to play better as a favorite in the playoffs, and Lamar's got to play better as a player of quarterback overall. That's going to be hard in year one. I mean, year one, getting the playoffs, winning a lot of playoff games, but the goal of the change, I would imagine, is to play better in the postseason. We know they can win the regular season, Coach. How do they get postseason wins? How do they get Lamar to play better in those moments? How do they get them to win as a favorite? He doesn't win as a favorite, short favorite, but still doesn't win as a favorite. So that's the hurdle I see for them. It's not the regular season. It's, have you done enough in the regular season to get yourself ready to win playoff games?
And I don't think with a new head coach there's any lock that they're going to the playoffs. Like, I don't think this is an absolute lock. There's a lot of things that they have to do, and they have to do right, and they have to do better than the previous staff. And the last time I checked, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens last year, he's now a head coach, and there's a lot of positive things being said about him as a head coach. There's definite challenges, and to me, it's important that they win early, because that helps add legitimacy to the things that you're saying. It helps add legitimacy to the core beliefs that you're bringing into the organization. They go through an early stretch where it's 500 or they've got a losing record. Then, guys, it gets a little bit shakier as you build.
So I think I can believe 2 things at once here. That, like, John Harbaugh is a big upgrade for the Giants, and that he is a professional and a good coach with a track record, and 3 losing seasons in 18 years is an undeniable accomplishment, and a Super Bowl is obviously impressive. And so, like, John Harbaugh is a legitimate NFL head coach who can legitimize an organization, stabilize an organization, and is the right guy at this time for the Giants, and it was a huge coup that they were able to hire him. And I can also believe that they needed to move on. That change of message, needed a new act at the bar, underachieving in the playoffs. Like, John Harbaugh was a huge success with the Ravens, but was he a success with Lamar Jackson? Like, was he a success relative to the caliber of quarterback and talent that he's had since Lamar Jackson has been there? Like, they were the 1 seed in 2019, didn't make the Super Bowl. They're the 1 seed in 2023, don't make the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson has a losing record in the playoffs. Now, clearly, plenty of that is on Lamar Jackson, who underachieved individually in that spot. But I do expect Jesse Minter to be an upgrade over the late stage version of John Harbaugh that was underachieving, because as I've talked about, I feel like the Ravens defense underachieved last year and Minter overachieved with the talent that he had with the Chargers. And I know it's going from coordinator to coach, and we've talked about that a lot over the last couple of weeks, but sometimes an injection of youthful energy and a new message, even if the message is similar, because Minter has ties to the organization, so the message might be similar, but it's just a new voice that is delivering it to you. I think that could give a jolt to a very talented roster coach that has underachieved.
Yeah, there is value to a new message. And one of the great things that John has going for him in New York now is all those stories that he had. They're new to the Giants. So he gets, he gets to play the hits.
Yeah,
he gets to play the hits and recycling, and that's great for them and great for him. And I understand why Baltimore made the decision that they made, because they are looking at it as like, we've got a 2-time MVP, probably could have been a 3-time MVP. We've historically drafted well, and we're not where we expect to be with this quarterback. So you try something different. It's just not a lock. There's a learning curve for a new staff. There's a learning curve for a new head coach, and hopefully, while that learning curve is happening, they're not now maybe underachieving with Lamar and the team. Hopefully, you get what you're saying. The new energy, new ideas, bringing overachieving.
This is not just a Baltimore question, but it does apply to them. They have a new offensive coordinator who's not called plays before. And how does that play a role with a brand new coach, right? I mean, I think that I've been in brand new installs, I think a handful of times in my career. It takes 8 to 12 weeks in the regular season to sort of feel good about the new offense, right? You have to see everything one time and 2 times and 3 times against this defense, against that front, against this situation. And to Coach's point, the message is great right now, right? It's all positive, it's all ready to go. If that offense starts slow, the defense starts slow, how do you keep up that positive messaging if you start like you shouldn't? And the Bengals are playing well, and the Steelers are playing well, and we won't say the Browns are playing well, but the rest of the division is playing well outside of them. You know, how does that message resonate now if you don't start the way you want to? With offense, I think it's tough as a first-time play caller to get offense up and running in week 1, especially when you have a shorter training camp now, shorter time in pads, shorter preseason. Like week 1's the first time they're going to get this operation really going with everything new.
There's also, I mean, there's a lot of variance here, right? Like with John Harbaugh, who's a known commodity. Like he's maybe not a top 5 head coach in the NFL with some of the like schematic geniuses that are out there, but he's a solid head coach who knows what he's doing. He's got his culture. He knows what he is and maybe what he isn't. Yeah, Jesse Minter might be bad. He could be great, but he might be bad.
Yeah.
Like every year, head coaches get hired to get fired, and some guys are just like, oh, we promoted him 1 step too high, and he is more of a coordinator than a head coach. Declan Doyle, maybe he's good.
Yeah, we don't know.
But maybe he's bad. You know, like there's definitely more variance of high-end outcomes and low-end outcomes doing it the way the Ravens are doing it now.
I just think when you tag him with maybe he's not as creative as some of these other guys. The long 18 years of longevity in the NFL that turns over what 30%, 40% of coaches every single year. You got to be doing a lot of things right, and you could attribute it all to the front office and the players, but the law of averages over time that's just not the case. And when your two out of your 3 losing records are at 8 and 9,
yeah.
We're not talking about terrible seasons. He had 1 5-11 season. The other 2 were 8 and 9. I don't think people appreciate how hard that is to do.
we're going to talk Giants in like 40 minutes, and I will talk about how John Harbaugh is an upgrade for the Giants. Like, I'm not at all saying that he's not a good coach. I understand why they're knocking on the door, not getting there. You're not moving on from Lamar Jackson. You feel like you have a ready-made Super Bowl roster. I just don't think that they felt like they could do the same thing.
But did you feel like the problems last year were exclusively coaching? Did you feel like it was exclusively defense? You look at Lamar. Lamar got sacked at the highest rate of his career last year, and as we know, sacks aren't just an O-line number.
Yes.
Yes. So many people want to say, "Oh, well, the O-line was terrible." Well, you're also talking about an extremely mobile quarterback. So it's not like he's a statue in the pocket. That's a collective effort. Then that's on him.
Well, no, but you've been around long enough, Coach, to know that like Lamar Jackson or John Harbaugh, who's going to go? It's going to be the coach. Like if you've got a two-time MVP in his prime on the verge of a $70 million a year contract extension who could be a three-time MVP, the reason that you sell tickets and that you buy jerseys and one of the great players in the history of your organization, if they're having a falling out or they've just tried and they can't break through, can't get over the hump, like the coach is going to just lose out in that power struggle if one exists.
I understand, but when you look at the landscape, there's also been another pretty good team in the AFC in Kansas City, so that's a hard thing to overcome. You know, Buffalo, they're facing the same thing, and they went to the same answer. So now we're just going to have to see. Here's two teams, both in the AFC, both with MVP quarterbacks, both who decided to make a change. Let's see from longtime successful head coaches. Let's see.
There's also just a lot of pressure because you're replacing a legend, right? A guy who's done so much winning there. You have to be in the playoffs and win playoff games for this to be at all even considered a success. So, like, you know, John Harbaugh, if he gets 8 or 9 wins this year in year one, you're like, great job with the Giants. Mitchell's got to win big in Baltimore immediately for this to be good.
You do not expect many first-time head coaches to be expected to go to the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Let's talk Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears because Ben Johnson was a bit of a truth teller earlier. He was talking about left tackle and protecting Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson yesterday had to address the situation because it is very much still up in the air with less than 20 days until the opener. All right, how worried should Caleb be?
I'm not that worried. It was a problem a little bit last year, right?
It sure was.
It didn't matter last season, right? Look, when you have one offensive lineman who's not as good as the other 4, you can work around that, right? You can find ways formationally to help the left tackle or right tackle. Easier when it's the tackle versus the interior offensive lineman. You can formationally help that tackle out, right? Running the football, which the Bears do very well. That means that typically third down is a little bit shorter, which means you don't have to pass protect as long on third down. So there's ways formationally to help. There's ways with different schemes to help. And so one guy being bad is not a big of a problem. 2 or 3 or 4, it becomes an issue. And you have to avoid third and long, basically, right? Third and long, they're going to put him on an island. The help is not going to be there. They're going to find ways to get him, whoever him is going to be at left tackle, into some problems, coaches. You know you can isolate that one offensive lineman. But if you win first downs, the Bears typically do. You win second down, the third down becomes third and short. You get more first downs. One guy, to me, has never been a problem. You can always find a way to help that one player.
2 years ago, how many sacks did Caleb have?
68.
Last year, how many sacks did he have?
24.
Okay. Is the left tackle the same left tackle?
Well, we'll see. They played 4 different guys at left tackle last year.
Yes,
okay,
essentially.
But he played the bulk, right? So we're talking about a potential upgrade from a 24-sack season. That's what we're talking about.
I don't think the upgrades on the roster is.
Well, I mean, I went through it. So like,
figure it out.
Braxton Jones is considered the favorite. He started 44 games at left tackle between 2022 and 2025. But he's a former 7th-round pick, so not a blue-chip prospect, but he turned himself into a nice player. He started the first 6. Then Theo Benedict came in, and he started 8 games for them last year at left tackle. But then he got replaced by Ozzie Trapillo, who was a second-round pick last year. But they felt like he was ready, and he was playing really well. But then the patella tendon injury before in the playoff game, the first playoff game, the one against the Packers, and then they kind of were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And they did what the Chiefs ended up doing, and they put Joe Thuney from left guard to left tackle for the Rams game. So Thuney's obviously not in the running for it. Trapillo is not looking like he's going to be ready for week 1, even if he's ahead of schedule. So yeah, to your point, it'll be Braxton Jones or Theo Bennett. Like, I feel like it's not a good situation, but it's not like they're talking about a 5th-round rookie who's never played left tackle before. Like, the options here are guys who have played in this system,
right,
who have played left tackle in the NFL on successful offenses. So I don't, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, this feels like a 4 to me.
And Trapillo is probably going to come back this season. He just came off of PUC, and he's working off to the side, but it looks, and there were a lot of encouraging things about him.
He seems ahead of schedule.
And then at the end of the day, we're still talking about 24 sacks. Is it perfect? No, but from where it was a year ago to where it is now, it's night and day, right? And all those candidates are back, and you'd love to be able to answer that question with a franchise guy that's going to lock down the left side. The other thing that he can do better is probably get the ball off quicker. He led the league in longest time to throw for any quarterback, so that could be a positive too for the O-line.
I know they also, they drafted another tight end in Sam Roush, so they're 3 high-end tight ends with Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, and Roush. Ben Johnson wants to play a ton of 2 and 3 tight end sets, to your point, which can help out a guy. The Bears got a little run to the right predictable last year. They were like, we're just going to run behind Jonah Jackson and Darnell Wright because it's working really, really well. So I know they'd like to be able to go left and right a little bit more, but I got to say, like, if this is the biggest problem with the Bears offense, that it's like, below average left tackles with experience who have been on good teams and good offenses, it's not that big of a deal.
Correct, especially because the other 4 are good to above average, right? If it was
excellent left tackle, very good right guard, excellent right tackle, and I'd say serviceable center.
Yeah, and that's, if you have that component with a left tackle that might not be as good as the rest of the league, you can survive with that with the rest of the Bears offense. If everyone stays healthy and you're ready to roll, and Coach mentioned it, right? Caleb Williams being a little bit better this year. For him, it's more about first and second quarter, just like coming out faster in games. He's played great in the fourth quarter and was a little bit off script, a little bit sort of playground-ish, right? If he can stay within the offense early in games, that'll help the offensive line as well.
Wouldn't you sign up for 24 sacks again?
I would sign up for 24 sacks for every year the rest of Caleb's career.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the most remarkable transformations, like, year to year. It was the most sacked quarterback in 20 years to below league average in 1 year. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, when Peyton Manning broke the scoring record, I think he was sacked 18 times, so we're not that far removed from that.
And Caleb is going to be more of a, he will always hold onto the ball longer than a guy like Peyton Manning because of his mobility and off-script ability and all those sort of things.
Absolutely. So you're always going to probably have a little bit higher sack numbers than you want because of Williams being able to do that. But obviously the upside to that is that Williams is going to move and get out of more sacks than most of the quarterbacks will do as well. And those are back-breaking plays where you're able to get out of the pocket late in those downs and find guys down the field.
Also having Joe Thuney as a, like, in case of emergency, break glass, we could slide you out to left tackle.
I don't love that option as much now than what I did like 2 years ago.
I don't either. But I mean,
I love Joe, like Hall of Famer, but I feel like that's not his bread and butter. That's probably your last option. Like, no matter what, we'll get by for one game with it.
It's definitely their last option. It's a better last resort than most teams would have.
And if it was going, why do you think they didn't draft someone to fill that void if it was really the biggest issue they were facing?
Did you see their defense last year?
No, I understand that. But
they have bigger issues.
And that's what I mean, is they have candidates to fill this role. The numbers weren't outrageous last year. If anything, they were incredibly good compared to the year before. So I think this is something that they can solve and work around.
All right, let's stay in the NFC North and go to Minnesota, where the emergence of Kyler Murray as the starting quarterback has all-pro receiver Justin Jefferson fired up for the start of the year. In a recent interview with Mike Silver, Jefferson had this to say about his new quarterback. He said, quote, "What excites me is his ability to just be an athlete. When a play might be dead, he's able to kind of move, make something happen. You're always alive, always just expecting that the ball is going to come your way." And so our question, gentlemen, is, do you expect Justin Jefferson to return to dominance with Kyler Murray? And I will just say that I didn't think last season was possible for Justin Jefferson. The only time he has not been dominant, he did 5 years in the league, or 6 years in the league, was the 1 year where he had some injury issues. every year that Justin Jefferson has played a full season like he did last year, he was just unbelievable. Like, as a rookie, 125 targets, 1,400 yards, played every game. 2021, 167 targets, 1,600 yards, 1,800 yards, 1,500 yards. Last year is such a remarkable outlier of playing 17 games, getting 141 targets. He was the 7th most targeted player in football. Like, targeting Justin Jefferson 141 times and having 2 touchdowns and eking out 1,000 yards speaks to spectacularly bad quarterback play. And so that is a Carson Wentz graphic, that is a Max Brosmer graphic, and that is a J.J. McCarthy graphic. So this is not a ringing endorsement of Kyler Murray, but if Justin Jefferson is healthy, he produces with whoever is out there, except for the guys last year. So yes, I expect him to be great.
It would not surprise me if he was near the top of the league in receiving again this year. I mean, think about what Murray can do just as a passer compared to the guys he's had. Hey, run as far as you can, I'll throw the ball as far as I can.
He's got a big arm.
Right? We know he can do that. Now, maybe the short intermediate stuff is not as accurate as he's had in past years, but Jefferson's they're going to take shots again in this offense because they have an accurate quarterback to throw the ball deep. We've seen in practice, by the way. Every practice clip, or every day in practice, there's one deep ball that Kyler Murray's completing to Jefferson. I would expect a lot of touches his way. And look at the offense, too. You can't really double him. You're gonna double him, and then you have your 2 other wide receivers, or the run game, or the offensive line, or Murray being able to run. Coach, how about Murray being able to run? How does that affect the defense? You're gonna put 2 guys on Jefferson, and
Kevin O'Connell's never had a mobile quarterback.
Correct.
I imagine he's going to get the targets that A.J. Brown wishes he gets. And you had the 184 up there with targets. I think he's going to get the 184 again.
Really?
And here's why. There's going to be the broken plays, which can lead to big plays, and he's going to stay alive. We interviewed this running back one time in the combine. I said, "What gap you hitting?" He said, "Coach told me to hit the D'Angelo gap." See a gap, hit the gap. I'm like, okay. I think this is going to be like the Justin Jefferson coverage. It doesn't matter what the coverage is. He's going to throw it to Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson will probably make it right more often than not.
I remember when Justin Jefferson was on this show with Nick Wilds and Brew, and he did an amazing job of not bus tossing J.J. McCarthy for the season that he had. But when he was talking about, they were like, do you still consider yourself the best receiver in football? JSN is Offensive Player of the Year. Jefferson wasn't first team All-Pro. And he was like, yeah, of course. Did you see what I was dealing with? 140 targets for a guy as good as him to only result in 2 touchdowns is staggering.
I think it was only 80 catches too. So they're off target 60 times last season, which feels like a rarity.
2 touchdowns the year before. I think he had 10.
Josh found this stat for a player who was targeted as much as Justin Jefferson was. We did a minimum of 115 targets. It was the lowest passer rating of any quarterback throwing at a receiver that much in the last 9 seasons. So you only target a player 115 plus times if that player is excellent.
Yes.
So of every player who's had 115 or more targets in the last 9 years, Vikings quarterbacks had the lowest passer rating in those 9 seasons, targeting that player as the Vikings QBs had thrown at Jefferson last year. It's just unbelievable.
This is why I've contended all along that the Vikings, it wasn't a real competition. It was Kyler Murray's job to have for many reasons, but this is one of them, right? If we can't get the ball to our best playmaker, who we know can help us win games, score touchdowns, do all the things we need to do, then we need to find someone that can do it. And Kyler Murray has the physical gifts to do it. And this is another reason why I think it wasn't even a competition, Coach. They brought Murray in. I know they said, we're going to split reps and do this and that, but they named him a starter a week in the training camp.
We go to Atlanta, where according to Ian Rappaport, Michael Penix Jr. still has a great shot at landing the starting quarterback job. This despite coming off the serious ACL injury only 9 months ago. Rappaport reporting that Tua Tagovailoa's preseason and practice performance have made naming him the starter, quote, impossible. You don't see that every day. Michael Penix will not play in the 3rd and final preseason game on Friday. Kevin Stefanski citing 3 practices, just not enough to put him out there for a game. But, Coach, how bad of a sign is this for your guy Tua?
It's not great.
No, it is not.
It's not great. When you're in a quarterback competition against yourself and you're losing it, that's not a good sign.
You think?
Yeah.
It was a quarterback competition of one.
And he lost.
He came in second place.
He lost.
He came in second. That's challenging. That's hard to do. And it's probably a little disheartening for Atlanta. I will say, though, that maybe it's a learning curve, and even though he's a veteran quarterback, some guys learn offenses at different rates than other guys learn offenses, even being a veteran. And you remember in Miami, there was a lot of feeling that Tua was underachieving significantly, and Mike McDaniel comes in, a lot of positive things there. So it could be an element of that. But the fact that Penix hasn't practiced, not going to be able, we're not really even sure when he's going to get, 100% fully cleared, contact, all those things. That timeline is still a little vague.
But they say he's cleared for contact now, but they're obviously not comfortable putting him in a live game situation.
Yeah, and hopefully that's just precautionary. And if you want to look at it glass half full, maybe Penix is just having a great early run, and he's continued to develop. So that could be our glass half full side to it.
That still would not be a good side for Tua, though. I mean, listen. Tua's 28 years old, and it feels like he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning. I mean, the worst team in the NFL, Miami, is carrying a $99 million dead cap hit for him to not be on the team. And he just seemingly, although it hasn't been announced yet, he seemingly is about to lose a quarterback competition to a guy who wasn't participating in it, who has 12 career starts and is coming off his third lifetime ACL injury. Like, it's not like they're handing this job back to Drake May or to Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, like guys who have accomplished a lot from that draft class in the NFL. They're handing it to a guy who hangs out around 60% completion with 12 career starts. Like, so this is a very bad sign for Tua.
Tua looks like a player that's lost his confidence at that position, right? And a lot of that has come down to the injuries. We've seen the more injured he's gotten in his career, the more quickly it looks like he wants to get rid of the ball. And the more quickly he wants to get rid of the ball so he doesn't get hit. Because the next hit could be the last hit of his career, unfortunately, right? That's how serious his injuries are. And you have to play as a player fast and with confidence. Otherwise, you can't play this game. You can't play this game any slower than it's required of you, right? And so I think that's what Tua looks like. When you watch even the clips of the preseason games, third and long, balls going 2 yards, in the ground. He fumbled the first snap of the game, like things like that, where it's just is not playing confidently, and I don't think he's going to get it back. It feels like we've seen that backslide now throughout his career, the more injured he's gotten. And I'd imagine he's going to probably be the backup this year, maybe not. He'll be in the NFL for a while, Coach, but I think his confidence is shot. That's what it looks like to me when I watch a player like that.
I'm not ready to go that far. Remember, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were both in Carolina, and they both got cut by Carolina and went other places, and now both of them are I think they both had one additional stop after Carolina before they found their
Baker
home.
went to the Rams.
Yep. Yeah. And so there is a component of that too, and to some degree it's in Atlanta's best interest that Penix is the starter. If you're going to lean towards someone, you would like your former first-round draft pick that you organizationally picked.
Yeah.
But not this GM or coach.
Totally get that, but still he's younger. Ideally, he hits, and you've got an answer for a long time. You would like that to work out. So I don't think Tua is done yet, but it is concerning that he's not winning this clearly.
It does feel like the difference between Tua and those guys, just the arm, right? Like Baker never lost his arm. We see that right now. Darnold never lost his arm. I just feel like Tua is sort of at the point now where he doesn't trust his body, doesn't trust himself throwing the football down the field. And hopefully they can bring him. Look, Stefanski can coach. We know he can coach. We saw what he did with all the quarterbacks in Cleveland. And so maybe you Tua gets opportunity. Penix is not healthy. But I've never heard a report impossible.
They said it would have been impossible to name him the starting quarterback based on how he's been playing in practice.
I don't. Have you heard a report like that? I've never heard a report like that.
Well, yeah, the media has been known to juice up some storylines.
Well, but they got that from the Falcons, though, didn't they? Probably.
I'm not sure where he sourced it from.
I obviously wouldn't want to guess at his sourcing, but I will say Ian Rappaport is not exactly known as a sensationalist hot take artist. You know what I mean? Like that's not what he normally is known for.
Yeah, it just depends on where that information is coming from. Is it coming from extremely high levels, or is it coming from?
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yes.
Depends.
Whoever's making the decision, are they the ones?
I would also think
agendas.
Maybe I would also think, like, not even because they drafted him, not even because like kids have bought his jersey, but the potential ceiling of Penix, I do think, is higher than Tua's if Tua is a hit away from a season or a career being over. And Michael Penix has a cannon. Like they spent a lot of draft capital on Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson to be big play guys. Like there's a version of Atlanta's offense that I've felt like for a couple of years now is like, why can't this be a top 5 offense in football with just the pure speed?
Every year we say that because they're loaded offensively. The O-line, too, has a bunch of number ones and twos on it. Whole offense is loaded.
But I wouldn't think you would want a quarterback with physical limitations to even if he at times with Tyreek and Waddle years ago with McDaniel's offense had the number 1 offense and they had the 70-point game. Like I know that for a brief moment in time he did it, but it seems like if I was betting on a ceiling, like of everything – Atlanta has a top 8 offense in the NFL this year. How did they get there? I would think it would be on the quarterback who could throw it all over the field as opposed to the guy with some serious limited physical abilities.
But your point about Tua's injury status is valid, but Penix has the same problem. Guy hurt multiple times in college, hurt in pro football. This isn't a young, durable quarterback.
It is not.
This is the opposite of that, and really that was a concern by a lot of teams when he came out were these injuries things that are sort of freak things that happen in college, but not necessarily gonna carry on to pro football. And unfortunately, we're seeing some of the same pattern in pro football.
Yeah, but Penix, say what you will about him, he will be on the left hash mark and he will rip a 15-yard out route to the right sideline. Like, that guy is not afraid to let it rip. Let's go to Denver. Broncos and Bo Nix, they're looking to build off of last year's very impressive run all the way to the AFC title game. Of course, Bo Nix breaks his ankle in that game. Broncos beat writer Jeff Legwold about their quarterback hopes slowing down, leading to another step forward, including he had this quote from Sean Payton. He said he does a very good job of avoiding a sack, the minus play, and because of that, he's very good with his progression. He's not someone who's slow to progress and slow to process. It's the other way. But I'd rather deal with that than a slow processor who's getting sacked. All right, so we know that Sean Payton loves Bo Nix. From every single time he's spoken about him, it's been glowing, other than the ankle injury stuff, which was a little weird. Do you think it is more likely that Bo Nix, who, again, I would say, even as someone who's not the biggest believer in him, he does need better PR because he has more wins and touchdowns than anyone else in that draft class, and all we do is talk about Jaden, Caleb, and Drake. He's got more wins and more touchdowns than any of them. But do you think it is more likely that he takes a step forward or step back?
With those two presented to me, I would say step back. But I do think he just is what he is at this point. He looks like the same quarterback he was in college. I watched every one of his snaps at Oregon. He looks exactly the same guy in Denver. He's consistent, right? He's not going to make mistakes, as Coach said, but he's not going to push the ball down the field all that often, right? We know his air yards was short. His sort of advanced stats kind of put him right in the middle of the NFL. He gets a bump up because he can run the ball, which is great in certain situations for them. Sean Payton needs to get him to throw the ball in between the hashes. I think he was 5th worst in the NFL, just completion percentage in the middle of the hashes. Like, there's things to work on, but that's sort of the issues that, not issues the wrong word to say, it's what he was in college. He didn't throw a ball a ton between the hashes in college, right? If it was very far deep down the field. And so this is what he is, and they built the offense. I give Sean Payton credit. They built the offense around what he can do, what he can't do. Like, they do a really good job of maximizing his talents. If I had to pick one or the other, I would say probably back is the wrong way to put it. I don't think Coach is going to become a Pro Bowl or All-Pro type player. I think he sort of is what he is. He's very steady. He's good at certain things. He's got to get better at certain things. But he's also just kind of, I think he's set at what he's going to be in the NFL.
What I really like that Sean said is that he is quick to process and the ability to avoid negative plays. That's the first step. Most games in the NFL are lost, not won. So being able to avoid losing games and process quickly, and Sean talking about the fact that he may have to slow his progression down a little bit or his processing down a little bit, that's a good problem to have, especially with a young quarterback. Every coverage has an answer to every defense, And the key is whether or not the quarterback can find that answer. And Tom was so good at it because of how smart he was. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, those guys, Drew Brees, they could get the answers to the question, before the test. And it looks like he has that ability to be able to continue to improve mentally. And maybe it's not going to be the biggest plays down the field, but not losing games, not having negative plays, getting the ball to the right place, allowing everybody else to play, being able to then play complementary football, and getting better each year because you're working, studying, and figuring things out more. Those are all positives.
I do think there's a little bit something too. Bo Nix sort of made every big play when he had to this year. Like there were a lot of games where you're watching, you're like, I didn't think he'd make that throw, and he makes that throw on third down. Like
they had 11 one-score victories.
Yeah, and a lot of that was, again, Bo Nix making a big throw. Bo Nix making a big play at the end of the game. It might not have been pretty for a little bit of time, then boom, he makes that big play. So there is that part of his game which I really do enjoy.
And how many times have we talked about MVPs who in big moments have come up short?
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of MVPs who are unbelievable, and then there's the biggest moment and they come up short. So to have a young quarterback being able to show that he can deliver in what were the biggest moments for him, that's another really encouraging thing.
Yeah, I would bet on step back, but I think that he is solid. I think he's a good, and I think that the Jalen Waddle addition is going to help those between the hash marks numbers. You gave him a legitimate number one, and I get why Broncos fans are defensive about him. He's like, wait a minute.
Keeps winning.
He keeps winning, and he's been very consistent. Let's just throw it up real quick. Like the year one, year two numbers, it's just really consistent, except the wins improved dramatically, and he's the first quarterback to have double-digit wins, 30-plus touchdowns in his first 2 years. And they're like, he's got more touchdowns and wins than Caleb, Drake, and Jaden. And if he didn't break his ankle, we'd be talking about Bo Nix, AFC champion, and he would have been the one who got blown out by Seattle in the Super Bowl. So I get why Broncos fans are a total believer in him, but I just don't see them winning 14 games. So the team is going to take a step back, and my guess is that will get painted onto Bo Nix, even if he is a solid quarterback.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.